Monday, May 17th, 2021, meeting of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners to order, and welcome to everyone. At this time, I will ask Commissioner Tony Stewart if she would do the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and do what is right on behalf of the 300,000 plus citizens of Cumberland County. God, I pray that you would grant us wisdom. I pray, God, that you would grant us understanding. I pray that we would operate as good stewards over that which you have entrusted to us. I pray, God, in the name of Jesus, God, that every citizen, God, will be able to move about and function and live as you would so have them to do. We thank you for trusting us with such a task, and I pray that we do it according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to call on our Vice Chairman, Commissioner Glenn Adams, for a recognition.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we move to the recognitions, we're really excited about introducing our library director. Do you mind if we do that before the recognition?
I do not, and please forgive me. I'm excited about meeting her as well.
So we are introducing this evening Faith Phillips. She replaces our previous library director, Jody Rishisher, that retired in June of 2020. Ms. Phillips started just last Monday, May 10th. She's joined this evening by the trustee vice chairman, Irene Grimes. Ms. Phillips comes to us from Durham County, where she was the manager of the Durham County Main Library, which has undergone a major multi-year renovation as well as transformation. Ms. Phillips' experience includes serving various roles in the Wake County and Durham County library systems, including youth services, humanities coordinator, teen librarian in Durham, before being made the interim library manager in October 2016. Faith has successfully written and implemented several grant projects, one of which focuses on serving individuals with special needs. That program received an Achievement Award from the National Association of Counties for 2020. Ms. Phillips is a graduate of Duke University with bachelor's degrees in history and religion, and she earned her master's degree from science from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Ms. Phillips to come to the podium, say a few things about herself this evening. Welcome, Faith.
Ms. Phillips, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, hear you very well.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners, County leadership, my fellow colleagues, peers, and community members. I am honored and I am humbled to serve as the director for the Cumberland County Public Library System. I look forward to working with you and the great team at the library as we move forward together to inspire innovation and to serve our community. Thank you.
That was very quick, but I would like to say, I would like to say to you, it is definitely a pleasure and honor to have you here. I've had the opportunity to visit the library right there by WTVD in Durham, North Carolina, and I noticed a number of individuals that went through your doors back and forth, and it was ran so well there.
Thank you.
And the activities that transpired there, I had the opportunity to look at some of that. And I love the way that it's coming up now, the new building. And we look forward to you doing great things here in Cumberland County with the residents here and everyone involved. So thank you for accepting Cumberland County as your new home.
Thank you, Chairman Evans. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. Now we'll move into the recognitions. We have one this evening. It's a Cumberland County Cares Award, Ms. Demetria Murphy.
And at this time, we will ask our vice chair, again, Commissioner Glenn Adams, who come forward for the presentation.
Come on up, Mr. Demetria.
Try to get you up here early.
Demetria and I served on the Reentry Council together. So it is my pleasure and my honor to be up here with you. I'm vaccinated, so I'm good.
Okay.
You vaccinated? Okay, we good. All right. But on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, it does give me great pleasure to present the Cumberland County Cares Awards to Demetria Murphy. The Cumberland County Cares Award recognizes individuals, groups, or agencies that have had a positive impact on the community through their volunteer efforts. Ms. Murphy has certainly made a positive impact on our community. The individual who nominated Ms. Murphy for the Cumberland County Cares Award described her as a unique and inspiring woman who speaks passionately about her volunteer efforts and her efforts to help those who are looking for a second chance in life. Ms. Murphy serves on the federal Cumberland County Reentry Council. Her volunteer work with the Reentry Council helps support men and women who have been through the judicial system. I applaud Mrs. Murphy's efforts with the Reentry Council to help these individuals make a positive transition toward a more meaningful and productive life. Through the Fayetteville Cumberland Reentry Council, Ms. Murphy also founded an organization called the Youth Diverse Intervention Group. This group is working to help promote positive influence and actions in the lives of our young people. Ms. Murphy also volunteers with the Veterans Empowering Veterans Organization and helped this group organize a much-needed food bank. You would think with all of that, that takes up all of her time and her family. But what she doesn't know is that I know that just the other day she graduated with her master's degree and is looking to go work on her PhD. You didn't know I knew that, did you? So, this is the Cumberland County Cares presented to Demetria Murphy, Cumberland County volunteer, in recognition of outstanding service to your community and for caring enough to make a difference. Presented this 17th day of May, 2021 by the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Please join me in thanking Ms. Murphy for her volunteer work and congratulate her on receiving this award.
Wow. So first, I was really like shocked when they told me I won because I don't really never win anything. So I was really, shocked. And then the pandemic came in and it kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of us. Definitely want to pay respects to people who are not here with us due to the pandemic. I lost a close classmate. So definitely, Ty, this is for you. We're going to always be social workers by heart. As I stand here, I'm truly blessed to have met the people that support me, helped me with my second chance. Going to federal prison did two things to my life. It disrupted, but it saved it. When I went to Raleigh for graduation, I sat in my car and I rode around the places that impacted me greatly and negatively. And I cried and I said, Lord, I thank you for saving my life, for seeing a value in me. And when I looked at people that used to get in trouble with me 20 plus years later, still doing the same thing, I realized that there's much work that we need to do as a community across the United States of America, just not here in Fayetteville. We have to figure out, how do we bridge the gap? How do we reduce recidivism? One thing that we have to realize, we will never stop crime, but how do we lessen it? What do we do when people are coming home? How do we help them? We cannot continue to turn a cheek and not allow people an effective second chance. One thing that I can tell you from experience, you're gonna always go to what you know to survive. So we need to work within the community to educate employers, educate housing developments, let them know if we don't give people a second chance, we will continue to have a revolving door of individuals going in and out of prison. as well as we'll continue to deal with the spike in drug addictions, alcohol addictions, and abuse. It first starts in the school system. I commend every teacher. You guys are special. I don't have the patience. I have one. And virtual learning is taking me out. So we first have to love on our little ones. We have to go back to it takes a village to raise them. Don't be mad for correction. It's all done out of love. Raise a child in the way that you want them to go, and they shall not sway. Thank you.
And we just ask all those who came to support Demetrius, please stand. It does take a village, and this is all of her people that came.
So this is my daughter. Raise your hand, Micaiah. This is my little one. This is my cousin, which is my daughter just as well. I include her in everything I do. Her name is Journey. And this is my aunt. My mother passed in 2005, and my aunt has resumed the role of being my mother. She supports me in every endeavor that I want to do. I could not have done this without her. In the back is my Uncle Skip. He is just my rock, my pillar. As I was going through some photos yesterday, I still have the scriptures that he sent to me while I was incarcerated. That is his wife. That's my Aunt Dot right there. And she always cooking and I'm always eating. That's my best friend in the back with her friend. And no matter what I'm going through, if I ask her to pull up, she's pulling up. And this is my daughter's cousin, my best friend, my sister, and that's my little cousin. And they always support me. There were so many more people who wanted to be here, but we knew that the capacity, so we wanted to be respectful of everybody else and allow everybody else to enjoy this moment with me. This guy right here, though, was too much to say. But I thank you, Mr. Evans, for always making sure you look out for me, speaking to me, engaging with me, supporting me, and interacting with me throughout this journey. Glenn, I can't even say. When I was going through my federal trial, his wife worked in the federal judicial system. I'm crying, I'm boo-hooing, and I don't know what's going on. I think I'm gonna go for the rest of my life. He connected me with his wife, who walked me through the journey and made sure that I was educated before I went before the judge and knew everything that I needed to know. We have a strong alliance in Cumberland County. We just now need to bridge the gap. Thank you, guys. You're welcome. Hey, I'm always here whenever you need me. I love to do give back because if people see me and they understand that it wasn't easy, but I did it, I love to share it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's a great story.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. Again, Ms. Murphy, congratulations to you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
So unfortunately, I have to learn I have another meeting. That is the story of my PhD behind the meetings.
Yes, Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. This leads us to our public comment period this evening. And if
Okay.
you'd like, Mr. Chairman, I could read the guidelines or the policy.
I would appreciate it.
Okay, so the public comment period, as you know, is an opportunity for the citizens to engage with the Board of Commissioners. We set aside 15 minutes for the public comment period, and each speaker is given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. No time may be yielded to another speaker. We ask that each speaker, as they come forward to the lectern, please give us their name and their address. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
Chairman Evans and members of the board, we have 3 speakers this evening. Our first speaker is Reverend Floyd Wicker.
Welcome, Reverend Wicker.
Good evening. I am Reverend Dr. Floyd Wicker. My address is 1410 Habersham Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. First, let me say I hope that each and every one of you are healthy and that you are doing well. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak before you tonight. I come to you because I have a deep and a growing concern about what I feel is a sense of apathy and inaction on the part of this commission as it relates to addressing racial justice in our county. Please forgive me if I am overlooking something that you have said or done, but I have yet to hear of any type of proposal or statement that this commission has made concerning the dangerous and hideous ills of racism and systemic oppression. All across our country, cities, towns, municipalities, and even some institutions are making notable strides towards addressing racial inequality by making Juneteenth an official paid holiday for all its employees. Our wonderful neighbors in Wake County did the exact same thing by voting unanimously to make Juneteenth a paid holiday for all its employees. Juneteenth celebrates the official ending of slavery in America. This holiday is not just for African Americans, but this holiday is for all of us who are created in the Imago Dei, the image and likeness of God our Creator. I think it's safe to say that we all agree that slavery was wrong. I think we would all agree that it was a stain upon our history as a nation. And now I feel that it is time for us to do something about it. Friends, this is not a political issue. This is not an issue about dollars and cents. This is a spiritual issue. This is a moral issue. This is an issue about justice. You are serving the people of Cumberland County at a unique moment in history. This is a moment where you have an opportunity to do something dramatically different. This is a moment where you can get on the right side of history and make a decision that will impact future generations of Cumberland County residents. I urge you to make Juneteenth an official paid holiday for all employees. You will be the better for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
Our second speaker is Ms. Stella King.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Stella King from Cedar Creek, Highway 53, East Fayetteville. I reside at 5727 Cedar Creek Road. I am here to represent my community in the concern of clean water. We do not have clean drinking water. It has been going on for a great deal of time, a number of years, and you probably know that we receive the water from the different water companies, but that is not acceptable. We need clean water in Cedar Creek, a water line, so that we can drink and bathe and do our laundry, so on, without having stains all over our dishes, our clothes. Wherever this water lies, there's a residue behind, and it also has an odor. So I urge you to please consider the water line for Cedar Creek community. And I do want to confirm, I have not spoken or emailed each of you, but I did speak with Mr. Evans, and I spoke with Ms. Stewart, and I was told that it was a priority, that Cedar Creek was a priority. And I would like to have that confirmed by you working on this and giving us clean water. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming. Madam
Our
Clerk.
third speaker is Pastor Mark Rowden.
Welcome,
I'm Mark
Pastor.
Rowden. Good afternoon. I reside at 987 Eastman Road here in Fayetteville, 28314. I, like Reverend King, I come to represent the nearly 13,000 citizens that make up the 300,000 and more of Cumberland County in reference to the Gen X. I come tonight to personally invite every commissioner to our next meeting. We had a town hall meeting, and I'm not sure if all of you got the memo, and if you did not, we do apologize. I'm grateful to Commissioner Glenn Adams, who did come and address us. I have been in contact and communication with DEQ. I've talked with Waste Management already, and when we set up a meeting, when they come, I'm inviting you all now to come to Cedar Creek for those who feel like they're left behind to address the issue. I will personally make sure you all get the note and the date to be able to come out. So we're working it. We've had 2 town hall meetings. One was just with the citizenry, and the other one, of course, we invited the commissioners to come. All of our pastors in the area are involved as well. I've been in contact with both our senators, Senator Zoka and Senator Kurt Deviere. They're invited as well, but I'm trying to wait until we get the first line defense folk down to Cedar Creek first. I would not want a senator to come and say that the commissioners have not been here. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to give you a personal invitation. Thank you.
Is there anyone else, Madam Clerk?
Chairman Evans, we do have one gentleman who did not sign up but has requested the opportunity to speak.
That'd be fine.
The gentleman is Mr. Greg McLean.
Welcome, Mr. McLean. Good evening. Good evening.
My name's Greg McLean. I live at 6141 Braxton Road, which is Grays Creek. And we had the same concern that Ms. King has. I've lived on this property, my grandfather's farm. I was raised there. I raised my sons there. We have 4 different wells on this property. Some of those wells have been there in place for 60 years. We have all 4 wells contaminated. My family also runs the Gallberry corn maze there on Braxton Road. And the well there that supplies our concession stand was also contaminated. That concerns me in so many ways. My mother and father have passed. I look back now, and my father died. He was consumed by cancer, all forms of cancer. My mother died of 2 different forms of cancer, breast cancer. I have a sister who has breast cancer. I have a brother who has a rare form of cancer and is recovering from it remarkably. What's really sad is I've lived there my entire life, and I look around at all the families, farming community at one time. It's now a bedroom community. But at one time, it was a farming community, much like Cedar Creek. The only thing separates us is the water in the Cape Fear River. We're much alike. I'm just shocked, and matter of fact, I'm angry. Because I don't know what health consequences this has. I talked with DEQ many times. The contractor has came out to my corn maze after much wrestling and negotiating and fussing. They came out and put a whole house filter at my corn maze. But now they want to come into my home, and I have pedestal sinks in an older home, and I've got to take my pedestal sinks out and put new vanities in. I just find out that the effort that they're making, that DuPont is making, it's nothing more than a show. It's just a flash in the pan to pretend they're doing something. My wife and I were getting water for many months, but she's disabled. She's not able to pick up a gallon jug and open the water. And I'm just very Very, very sad. And, you know, at the end of our property, the corner of our property is on Braxton Road. The county water line comes up and stops at the corner of my property. It's within 200 feet of my well. I cannot get someone to tell me why I can't tie into that water.
Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. And I know we normally don't respond to individuals that make comments, but I will say this, that your Board of Commissioners and staff is working hard as we possibly can to correct any problems that there is out as far as water is concerned. And thank you for speaking. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Under approval of the agenda, item 4A is the Commissioner Meeting Room update. Mr. Chairman, you had asked me to possibly get approval from the board to move this item back to the June agenda session for additional discussion as opposed to hearing it this evening, and that's the only change that we have.
Okay. Yes, I would appreciate it if the board would grant that request. So let's move this back to our agenda session and next month, and let's discuss it once again. Yes, Commissioner Booth.
Mr. Chairman, I move that as to item 4A, consideration of the Commissioners' Meeting Room update, that we move that to give them time to give us additional information on, place it on our June agenda session.
Thanks, sir. There's been a first and a second. All in favor?
Unanimous.
That
Thank
brings
you.
us to our consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda, ma'am? Or anyone?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
That is unanimous.
Item 3 are our public hearings. We'll begin with item 3A. I'll ask our Planning and Inspections Director, Ross Howard, to come forward and present a text amendment to Chapter 4, Article 4 of the Minimum Housing Code.
And before you begin, sir, I would like to ask the board if they would excuse me from this portion for the remainder of the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Let me hold that. Let me hold that agenda. And a little gavel, so I can gavel like you gavel. Thank you, sir. Give him an opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. So I didn't have a formal presentation, a PowerPoint per se for this. It's pretty straightforward text amendment to Chapter 4 of the County Code of Ordinances. That chapter specifically addresses building inspections, building processes, but more importantly also, and what we're talking this evening, is it addresses the minimum housing code for the county. So the proposal is to make the Board of Adjustment to serve as the Housing Appeals Board. Currently, right now, we do not have a sitting Housing Appeals Board, and so the reason why we are requesting this is for a few reasons. One is we do have an applicant who has filed an appeal to a minimum housing case who has requested to be heard. Secondly, when staff looked at it with the number of housing appeals that we have coming through the pipe, it's of staff's opinion that we don't have a whole lot of business probably to justify having a complete separate board for housing appeals. Sorry, this mic is a little sensitive. When you look at what these hearings are supposed to be for as well, these are typically evidentiary hearings or quasi-judicial in nature. So we felt compelled just to make the suggestion, being that the Board of Adjustment, it does serve as the county's quasi-judicial body. And when we looked at comparable jurisdictions all throughout the state, it's not uncommon that that the Board of Adjustment serves as the Housing Appeals Board. So that's all I really have to add. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer what I can.
All right. I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing. Does anybody have any questions? You got one here.
Is there any estimate on time, man hours, expenses, travel miles? What's this going to streamline or slow down? And what's going to?
As far as staffing is concerned, it won't affect staffing's, typical MO. I think what it will speed up is the fact is we have housing appeals and there's no body to hear these appeals, and it's contemplated by ordinance that we do appeals. So I think from a citizen's perspective, it'll put the board in place that needs to be put in place so they can get their due process.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to clarify.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. That takes us to 3B, the proposed economic development. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. We'll ask our Economic Development Director, Mr. Robert Van Giens, to present this item. Oh, okay. I apologize.
Good evening, Commissioners. You have heard about this proposal in at least 2 closed sessions, and it has come to fruition. This is a proposal to sell the remaining property in the Cedar Creek Industrial Park, which has been there for over 30 years unsold, and the site that's typically called the Sand Hill Roads site, which is at a different location fronting Sand Hills Road and Production Drive, to a developer, a commercial developer with the name of Sky REM LLC. This has been put together as an economic development incentive offer instead of just a straight-out sale, to avoid the necessity of having the sale subject to the upset bid, as well as to require the developer to build commercial buildings on both of these sites within a specified time frame, which is set out in the agreement itself, or will be set out in the agreement. What you have tonight, after considering whatever comments might be made at the public hearing, is a resolution that would be appropriate to adopt if you wanted to do that. It covers the statutory requirements that the board must find to offer an agreement such as this. And just looking at, you have found that the resolution says, and from our discussions in closed sessions where I come up with that, is that you find that the purchase price of $10,000 per acre for the Cedar Creek site is the fair market value. And just to give you a comparison of what that is such a large site, over 350 acres. At the tax value of in round numbers, the tax value of those sites combined is about $2.3 million. This sale is about $3.6 million. The Sand Hills Road site's 159 acres. If the tax value on that is $803,745 at the sales price of $18,800 an acre. That's a purchase price that rounds out to about $3 million. So, and these are large tracts, and I think it's been presented to you in the closed session. Some of a significant amount of this property is in flood zone or wetlands that is not subject to any kind of, to maybe a lot of development, but there's restrictions on some of the use for it. So that's the reason for how the prices were determined. The developer has agreed to buy all of this acreage, with the only exception being having it surveyed. It had been surveyed a long time, so there may be some minor adjustment, maybe up, maybe down, but we'll still be looking at that $18,800 per acre price. In exchange for that sale, the developer has agreed to build a commercial building or buildings of not less than 40,000 square feet of enclosed area on the in the industrial park, the Cedar Creek site, within 3 years of the closing, and then 120,000 square feet of building or buildings in enclosed area on the Sand Hills Road site by May 1st, 2025. The other terms that have been worked out are that the developer shall complete the purchase of these sites by November the 1st of this year, and there will be a provision, which is a statutory requirement, what's called a clawback provision, that if the developer were not to fulfill its obligation to build these buildings, the county could buy these properties back. But all that said, that is the essential terms of the agreement. And again, once you hear the any comments that might be made at the public hearing, the appropriate way to move this forward would be to adopt that resolution. Any questions?
All right, we will,
No, that's right. Go ahead.
I was going to do the public hearing. I open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I will close the public hearing, and Commissioner Booth.
I have been here since 1969, and I'd just like to thank the two of you for pulling this off. This is moving forward with major companies, and if there's any sign to show for this, it's that we're open for business in Cumberland County. Because isn't this the last of the property we have right now available to even
Yes, sir.
to develop? So it's never happened before. Thank you, Mr. Van Giens, Mr. Moorfield, and for finalizing this one.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion, which would be to Commissioner Booth to adopt the resolution.
Pursuant to 3B, I move that we approve the Economic Development Incentive Agreement with Sky Rem LLC.
And adopt the resolution, the attached resolution.
Yes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I just may say, thank you for approving that. This is a great project, but I want to recognize we do have with us representatives, Tommy Turner, who is a broker on the project, and also the individual who brought us Campbell Soup in that project and that lead, and Mark Civitello with Skyrim. Did I say that right, Mark, on the last name?
Frank James.
Oh, Frank, thank you. With a mask on, you got me there for a second, Frank. With Skyrim, and they also own 107 Tom Starling and 880 Technology, now one of your largest industrial building owners here in the community. So thank you.
And we thank you for being here tonight, and looking forward to a prosperous partnership with you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so very much. All righty. Madam Manager, that will take us to the uncontested rezoning cases.
Yes, sir. Mr. Howard.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. So the first case that we have, just making sure this is the presentation. Yeah, so the first case that you have is case P2121. This case is located just south of Hope Mills in the Grays Creek area of the county, as you can see highlighted by the star. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to RR rural residential. The applicant is Mr. Marcus McLean for just about 1.2 acres. You can see highlighted, this is Braxton Road here, which then leads into I-95. The parcel in question is this crosshatched outline in red. You can see there is some RR that's already in the area around here, so it's a hodgepodge of A1 and RR and then R30. Pretty much surrounding this area is all single-family homes, some manufactured homes, but you can see the zoning here where the current zoning is. So when it went to the planning board had unanimously agreed to approve this. Staff is recommending it. It is not compliant with the plan, so there would be a plan amendment associated with your vote if you choose to vote in the affirmative, but the plan amendment was supported by staff and was supported by the planning board as well as part of their vote. I'll be happy to go into the presentation if you deem it need to be done.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Keefe?
I'm going to make an assumption here that A1 only allows for one house per 2 acres. This is under 2 acres. Is there a resident, RR means it would be residential and could be built within 1 acre, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So is that the purpose of this?
I don't know if we got the purpose of it per se. I think it's just for future development. I mean, but the assumption is that it's going to be future residential development out there.
Oh, but at RR, they could only put up one home.
They do one home in RR per every 20,000 square feet. So it's a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size in RR. In A1, it's 1 per 2 acres. In RR, it's 1 per 20,000.
So they could put up 3, actually.
Mm-hmm. When we looked at the plan compliancy, as far as, so I'll just go to the plan if you don't mind. So just across the street, it's low-density residential, and then you have farmland over here. When staff took a look at this, we looked at the fact that you had all these lots that are already subdivided here, that it's, like when you look at farmland, I think that these designations are really high-level, 30,000-foot view sort of designations, but when we got into like the meat of the whole thing, we had noticed all of these lots that are around here that are relatively small, they're used for housing as it stands currently. Probably stands to reason, at least on our end, that it wouldn't be used for farmland per se. And so I think for this particular, since it was a transition over to the suburban residential and it's near a major intersection, we didn't have a problem with the density and doing a plan. And we would probably designate it as the low density just across the street. We would just bring that over this side of the street.
Mr. Chair, if you mind, so tell me the difference between RR and R20.
RR is a rural residential, so, I mean, if you're speaking strictly on lot size, again, the RR is 1 per 20,000 square feet. R40, for example, is the 1 per acre, and then it goes to the A1 would be the 1 per 2 acres.
Okay, but if something was R20, it is one house per every 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
The same as RR. What is the big difference?
I think with RR, you could do a group development, you could be able to put, like, you wouldn't have to subdivide it, for example. So, for example, if it's R20, you'd have to subdivide a lot out that would have a 20,000 square foot lot. So the density doesn't have to be subdivided in RR necessarily. So you could put 2 houses on there, you could put, as much as the density could be able to obtain, you wouldn't have to subdivide the property. So, for example, if the applicant wanted to put a second home on there for his mother, niece, or whatever, he wouldn't have to subdivide the property if he had enough acres to do so.
Understood.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing. Anyone else have any questions or comments? I will entertain a motion.
Mr.
Case P2122, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 agriculture to R30 residential.
No, we're doing 2121, the very first one.
Yeah, it's a lot longer to read because of the plan amendment.
That's all right.
How about 2121?
There you go.
I move, and that's a long one. I'll be out of breath. I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 agriculture to RR residential and find A, the approval is an amended to the adopted current South Central Land Use Plan map, and that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application or amendment to said map for this reason. B, the following change in conditions was considered in amending the zoning ordinance, the zoning map, to meet the development needs of the community. Proximity to other low density and suburban residential to the north and northwest, transition between residential areas to the north and agricultural uses to the south, and locations at the interchange of I-95 and Braxton Road and C. The rezoning approval is reasonable and in public interest because the district requested is in harmony with surrounding zoning and existing land uses.
Second.
You want some of this water? It's been moved and probably said. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
That will now take us to case P2122.
Thank you very much. This is located, as you can see, up in the northeastern area of the county. As you can see, that's indicated by the star. The applicant is Loretta K. McKethan. The request is to go from A1 to R30 residential for an approximation of 0.71 acres. You can see the area that's highlighted here. When you look at the surrounding uses, it's primarily large lot with some single family and agriculture and some manufactured homes along Gabe Smith Road. You can see Gabe Smith Road here. So when you look at the surrounding zoning, you have RR that's across the street, you have R40 that's right beside it, and then you have A1 in the area. So when this went to the planning board, staff had recommended it because it's plan compliant. When we took that to the planning board, they also supported the request by a 9-0 vote. So there is no plan amendment associated with this as is plan compliant. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer what I can.
Anyone have any questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we approve the rezoning request from A1 agriculture to R30 residential at the April 27, 2021 meeting for the reasons stated and is fully reflected in the minutes of the planning board, which were incorporated herein by reference.
A second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. That takes us to case P 2123.
You guys are moving faster than me. Hold on a second.
All righty.
So, this case, I already know pretty well. It sits on Cumberland Road, as you see in the area between us and, or I should say the city of Fayetteville and Hope Mills, as indicated by the star on the map. So I know this is a little bit busy of a map, so I'll get to one that's a little bit easier to read here in a minute, but the request is to go from R6A residential to C2P, planned services and retail, and this is a conditional zoning. The applicant is Gary Dwayne McGuire Jr. You can see the area that is highlighted here in red with the crosshatch. For those of you that know Cumberland Road, this sits at the corner of Ireland, which is a pretty well-known cut-through as you're trying to get off of Cumberland Road to go there, to other areas that are north of the city. That's about for 1.95 acres. When you look at the surrounding area out there, it's primarily single-family right now, but it is transitioning into some commercial that you can see highlighted in the red. As you can see, there's a landscaping business, there's a plumbing business, and so various other types of contractor and retail trades. So this is a little bit easier to read as far as the map, but you can see the R6A there with the highlighted in blue that is here. As you can see, it's got C3 across the street and R10, which I believe is currently a dormant district. So this is a transitioning area that's going on there, but it's a plan compliant, so staff had recommended it. When it went to the planning board, it is also supported by a 9-0 vote. So I will try to answer anything I have if you have any questions.
No, let me do one question, because I've always been consistent with Cumberland Road, and it was before you got here. It has always bothered me that there is no sewer out there. It's just the water. We're just continuing to pile on to this problem. We either need to kind of, determine what we're going to do. It sits between Fayetteville, sits between Hope Mills, and we continue to rezone all of this stuff out here, and we're not doing anything with the sewer problem, and I think it's going to be a problem as we continue to build some of this stuff up. Even some of those single-family dwellings are going to have some issues. So I'm just on record that I've always had problems out there on Cumberland Road, and that was way before you got here, Ross. So it's not anything to do with the current planning board, but I think I've been pretty consistent voting no on all of those on Cumberland Road until we get some kind of plan. And we had asked for one way back when on all the sewer, but anybody else have any questions or comments?
We can give you a conditional, we'll do it if we get the ARP money.
With that, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing. Commissioner
Chair,
Keith.
you bring up a valid point, and it's not a new point. We have been a little bit derelict. I can remember very easily, I think it was 3 years ago, when a zoning was coming up, where this area was transitioning to commercial, and the question was, what are the plans for sewer on that road? And I don't recall an answer, but we keep doing this time and time again. Mr. Howard, are you aware of any plans and what sort of jurisdiction would need to happen to get sewer on that road?
Well, as far as plans, as far as what we deal with, there's the Cumberland Road Business Corridor Study that I think what was done, and by what we had seen, it complies with that because it's a conditional request. I think the idea is that the conditional request would allow us to be able to address a little bit of that stuff maybe through this process. But as far as any other plans outside of the organization, I can absolutely contact like the water sewer providers and find out what's going on out there, and maybe put that as a report to you at a later date if you'd like.
Well, is it really in the best interest of everyone to be able to put a major highway with commercial buildings without public sewer? I mean, you tell me it conforms, but does it really conform with, proper infrastructure? It's a rhetorical question.
It was before, he inherited this.
I'm very well aware.
He inherited this.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
But probably didn't show you this folder when you came here.
Well, there's a little bit of sewer right there.
Yeah,
off the
just
map.
a little bit.
So anyway, they're trying to do something out there, I imagine.
Well, the problem is, unless the city of Fayetteville annex, they're not coming with sewer. I mean, that's
Yeah.
And so going to other people is not going to work. It's either us or nobody, and we've discussed this time and time again in terms of it being transitional, that we wanted it studied and talked about and brought back. Now, in fairness to you, your whole staff has changed. Some of those folk who were here 3 years ago are no longer here, Madam Mayor. So I do understand that, but I think we need to put that on our agenda to look at,
Sure.
from y'all,
Yes,
to be
sir.
able to determine that. Commissioner Booth.
I agree, and I think we all sat there and did what we're doing now and kind of go like this. But people keep selling their houses, and they're either modified to office and car lot or
Yeah.
something there
Yeah.
out there, or they level it if the house isn't functional. So you really don't want to be living next to the overlay he had a minute ago about all these commercial enterprises. So almost out of an abundance of necessity, folks are entertaining proposals now to have businesses come in and either take over their building or level it. And they know what they're getting into. But, you know, if this doesn't happen, we're not going to have any more folks doing that, and the people are just going to get out of their houses and leave them.
Yeah.
And if you want to clean it up and then put it up for sale and have Rick do the foreclosure on it when they stop paying taxes on it. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is, right now, there's a no-win situation in this.
We missed the opportunity when they expanded Cumberland Road.
Absolutely.
That's when
exactly
they
right.
when they went out there and expanded Cumberland Road, is when we missed that opportunity. But
Mr. Chair, if I can follow this up, I don't fault the applicant. It's
No,
not his fault.
No.
And
No, it's on
quite
the
frankly,
No.
I'm going to support this, but I don't like it because I don't believe that we're giving a good product, and that's not what governments are supposed to be doing. But as soon as the septic tanks start failing, because that's what they have, once they start failing, then all of a sudden we have a place. We have a bigger problem, and then they'll be coming back to us, wondering what we're going to do to fix that.
Well, and see, as this construction happens, it's going to shift some of that, all of that.
Sure.
Mr. Booth.
Well, can you get me the folder they didn't show you when you accepted the job that we did about 3 years ago in the Cumberland Corridor study?
Yeah.
And get me a copy of that again. I'll bring this up. We've got a PwC CEO that is all about helping the community. And this would be one of those things where it's, Amy and I have heard this a million times, economically sustainable if these businesses and corporations want to have it. Maybe we can, broker some sort of deal of getting it there. But I'll bring it up the next PwC meeting if everybody wants to give me the information.
I would bring up as well, too, that due to the lack of this, you're going to be limited to the scale or impact of types of commercial you're going to get. It's going to be low scale, it's going to be low impact.
That's what I'm talking
If you
about,
want
yeah.
major redevelopment where you're going to have
gotta
like
have-
bigger shopping centers, you got to have that, but
Right.
that's what you're going to get with septic.
And we're just piecemealing this down the road. Anybody have any other comments or entertain a motion? Mr. Keefe,
Did you already, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
I've already closed the public hearing,
You
yes.
already closed the public hearing. Okay, for the case of P21-23, I move to approve the rezoning request from R6A to C2P, conditional zoning, subject to the conditions of approval and conditional use site plan, and find the request consistent with the Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan designation of heavy commercial. Approval of this request is reasonable and in the public interest, as the district requested is in harmony with the surrounding existing land uses and zoning.
Yes. It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous, I'm sorry. Voting in favor, Commissioners Keefe, Booth, Lancaster. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you. That motion carries. Case P2124.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. So this is a case that sits literally at the northernmost reaches of Cumberland County's line, right on the Harnett border. As you can see by the star that's indicated, the applicant and the owner is Margaret Collier Ayers, I hope, and the agent's Ben Stout. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to R40 residential. You can see it's a rather large parcel highlighted in red, like literally sitting right on the Little River up there, for 72.6 acres. So the subject property itself is single-family residential. There's a church out there, but for the most part, it's pretty dense until you start getting over into Harnett County. But you can see it sits at Reeves Bridges Road, which is here, and if you're familiar with the geography, Ramsey's just over to the east. When we, again, look at the zoning, it's all pretty much A1 agricultural out there. So that's pretty much what it is to put R40. Now, this does take a plan amendment, so you might have to read a little bit here in just a little bit if you decide to go that route. The plan amendment is actually, the plan actually calls for more density than what's actually contemplated. The applicant wants 40,000 square feet, and our plans are contemplating smaller than that. So the plan amendment would actually be putting it into a category that would dictate larger lots relative to smaller lots. So staff didn't have a problem with it, but it does take an amendment. And I'll be glad to go into more of this if you have any questions.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
You certainly may. Mr. Keith.
Thank you. Where is water coming from?
Harnett?
Harnett water, okay.
No sewer.
So there's no problems with that? Okay, that's all right.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr.
Go
Booth.
ahead. You're up.
I just wanted to know, it sits near that little river, and then we know the little river flooded when it came through. Is there any, I tried to find it in the thing, I looked through there, because most times y'all have that in there, but I didn't see. Did this flood during one of those last 2 hurricanes that we had? Because the little river was over its borders.
I wasn't living here during that time, but I could probably ascertain that probably. Like all the riverine systems in this area pretty much were inundated. Now, just keep in mind, there are flood maps, so this is a designated area out here where you see the trending of the hydric soils falling along the river. That's pretty much it right there.
Yeah.
So there's floodway and floodplain issues out there, but again, when they go to develop, it would have to be engineered to meet all of FEMA's requirements for flood staging, for elevation of the homes and so forth, which is not uncommon for that type of development next to one of these systems.
Mr. Booth.
Was there any opposition at the planning board meeting? After
No,
they
sir.
gave notice to everybody?
Yeah, we had nobody show up for that.
Did they have any documents or sign things where actual landowners or property owners, said fine, or,
But that's typically not part of our process, so we send out the letters.
I know it's not. No, I know exactly what it is. I want to buy it, and I
Almost bought a house.
yeah, it's beautiful out there.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll open the public hearing. Any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
Thank you. I'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the case of P 21-24, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 agriculture to R40 residential and find the approval is an amendment to the adopted current North Central Land Use Plan map, and that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application for amendment to said map for this request. The following change in conditions was considered in amending the zoning ordinance or the zoning map to meet the development needs of the community. The request allows for a larger lot size than promoted by the North Central Land Use Plan. Larger lots promote open space along the Little River than small lot areas promoted by the North Central Land Use Plan, and this rezoning approval is reasonable and in the public interest because the district requested is in harmony with surrounding zoning and existing land uses.
Is there a
That's my
second?
motion.
Second.
Been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
That takes us to our last case. 2125. Did I skip it?
Right, so this is a case, as you can see, indicated by the star commissioners that's down in the Grays Creek area in the southwestern part of the county. The applicant owner is William D. and Sylvia Warren. The request is to go from A1 agricultural and RR rural residential to just strictly rural residential. This is an oddly shaped piece of land. You can see here's Blossoms Road that sits here. Here's Grays Creek Church Road, but this is the highlighted area that you can see here. It does incorporate a little bit of this triangle across the street. You can see where A1 and RR sort of blend in right here. So the indication that we've gotten is they're just trying to fix a split zoning issue that's on their property for future development. And it's exactly for an acre. Surrounding it is single-family residential. There are some manufactured homes out there. So again, here's a zoning map. So again, it's just basically putting it as an RR zoning district. This was plan compliant, so staff is recommending it. It went to the planning board, also had a subsequent vote of 9-0 as well there. There was no discussion, so if you have any questions, I'll try to answer what I can.
Mr. Booth.
Just
Mr.
offhand, do you know if they own anything around there? Because they're not going to do much with an acre when it's split by a road. Do they own like some of the other stuff left and right of it, or are they just trying to straighten up their little 1 acre?
I think they're just trying to straighten up their little 1 acre.
Okay.
Yeah, it was down on.
I mean, so it's got the same PIN number, so you're probably saying what's going across the street, but for the purposes of density calculation and all that, since it is one PIN number, we would count the parcel
Yeah.
across the street for what they have. They just wouldn't be able to split that off on its own lot unless it meets the minimum lot sizes. So for example, if they wanted to sell that little triangle off or something.
Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any comments?
There are no speakers.
Speakers. I close the public hearing. Entertain a motion.
I'll take it.
Thank you, Mr.
In the
Keith.
case of P 21-25, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agriculture on RR Rural Residential to RR Rural Residential, and find the approval is an amendment to the adopted current South Central Land Use Plan map, and that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application for amendment to said map for this request. The following change in conditions was considered in amending the zoning ordinance of the zoning map to meet the development needs of the community, assigns a single zoning category to the same small parcel, and this rezoning approval is reasonable and in the public interest because the district requested is in harmony with the surrounding zoning and existing land uses.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. That will take us to, Madam Manager, our public hearing on street renaming.
Yes, sir. We have a street renaming case, SN 0479.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. So again, with the implementation of the next-gen E911 system, we're having to go through and try to look at where that, coupled with the fact that we have a number of DOT projects that are coming on board, that are bifurcating roads and splitting things, we have to go through and rename these roads that are subject to those types of circumstances within the county. So in this particular case, we are talking about Farmers Road out in the county. So we did contact all of the owners per our standard process, and we engaged them in regards to the new names of the roads, and what came out was South and North Farmers Road. But you can see actually when 295 was built, Farmers Road, we created this map that you can see here. Farmers Road used to cut through here. So when they built 295, it split that in half, and the next gen basically says that we can't have that situation. So we have to rename it. So Eddie's Lane is right here. I just wanted to point that out in case you have questions about this road going into Eddie's Lane. That was actually, there's a sign out there that shows a turn there. So when we engage the property owners out there, the overwhelming majority of people said they want to keep it some form of Farmers Road just because that's what it's always been, and they don't want to change it if they can help it. So so we took a look at it, and we were amenable to it. We didn't see a problem with it. So what we're proposing is that for that south section is to go to South Farmers Road that you can see here. There will be a sign here on the corner that you can see, so it will transition over into Eddie Lane over there. When you look at the northern portion, of course, we're just going to put that as North Farmers Road, so pretty straightforward. You can see we did post the signs out there as required by our ordinance. This is sitting in the northern part that you can see there, just north of 295 at the intersection of Andrew Road, so we did post it. So if there are any questions, pretty straightforward unless you got any other
I have to check with my two commissioners who live on the north side. I'm going to go on the north side because they were probably on Farmers Road for a long time, and the cut through
A
too.
little bit up to the left as you go. Pine Forest is down there on the left. Coming down Andrews Road, if you were going to Linden, you went straight. If you're going to College Lake, you went to the right. And now that's gone.
Yes, that's all of the
Everybody's
north
gotta
side.
go to Stoplight by Hardee's.
There you go. I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion. Mr. Booth.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the street renaming of Farmers Road, the portion identified to North Farmers Road, and the other portion identified as South Farmers Road from Farmers Road to South Farmers Road.
All right. You get a second?
As presented, SN 0479.
I'll second that.
All right. It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Madam Manager, that takes us to item 4B.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is renewal of a lease agreement with Easter Seals UCP of North Carolina and Virginia. This was actually an item that was originally discussed at your agenda session last Thursday, May 13th. Assistant County Manager Tracy Jackson will come forward and present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Good evening.
This is a request from Easter Seals for a renewal of an existing lease. This lease will expire June 30th, 2021. They're asking for the same terms as are in the current lease. And basically what we're requesting is the permission to do the intent to lease and to advertise this. I know there was discussion in the agenda session and the desire to bring this forward to the regular meeting. So that's why we're here tonight.
Mr. Booth.
Okay, is it my understanding that for the $1 a year, we still provide utilities and maintenance?
So actually, this lease is different from some of the other ones. The tenant provides the maintenance on this facility.
Okay, but we provide utilities?
They pay, UCP pays the utilities.
Yes.
They pay the utility bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we do, I think we go in and do a
walkthrough.
A walkthrough.
There's an inspection, and actually, the facilities manager did a recent inspection. There was a fire there in January of 2020, as some of you may remember, and everything has been improved and brought back up to where it needs to be after the fire, and the building is fully functional.
Just like when I was trying to find the Vision Resource folks a closer building that we owned in town rather than them having to try to talk to the city of Fayetteville about getting them transportation all the way out there and everything. I came out as, you know, I hate blind people. Well, this is, you know, Easter Seals. I don't hate Easter Seals, but they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And for $1 a year, they're getting 12,310 feet next to Honeycutt Rec Center with the splash pads and the playgrounds. And they're across the street from Fayetteville Tech's Rose Garden and FTCC. I mean, that's, if there's some other prime property, I mean, I would rather nix this and sell it to them. I mean, if they're interested in it long-term, they ought to be willing to buy it, especially now that they've fixed it up to their desire. I just, $1 a year, $3, 12,310 square feet. I'm having problems.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Keefe.
Yeah, one of the reasons it's on our agenda tonight is because of me. I also looked at it for some of the same reasons. They are this portion of Easter Seals, and I don't want to take away from the job that they do. This building was closed for almost a whole year because of the fire. And I will point out that they originally wanted us to pay for the fire, the renovation, but that was cleared up by our manager. But they have, Easter Seals, this particular section of Easter Seals paid over $3.5 million in facilities last year. And I think the question to Mr. Bruce rhetorically asked is, why wouldn't they want to buy it? Why would you want to buy it if you can get it for $1?
Well, I knew the answer.
Okay. So, and I'm not trying to put anything away, but we are in a shortage for county space. This is a prime location. Certainly would have been a much better location for the Vision Resource Center or some of our other communities. But I'm not saying that they're not a good tenant. I just think that there should be meeting in the middle of us as stewards of county money. It seems ironic that we pay market rates for some places, but therefore gift for $1 a year, you know, a 10,000 square foot plus facility. So that's all I want to say on that, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? And I will just say this. I do understand both of your concerns. I will tell you, I sit on the Action Pathways Board, which has Head Start, and there is not enough Head Start for our kids in this community. Easter Seal, these kids, if we, it becomes how much would that cost this community to be able to do this? And that's just in dollars and cents. I'm not even talking about what it does for these parents to be able to take their kids there to get this high-level quality childcare and being able to do the things that they do. Sometimes, you know, you think about it and you say, that doesn't sound like a good deal, but when you look at the long term, I think if you talk to those parents and you look in their eyes, they'll tell you that this is worth every cent that we do for them. Yeah, I'm pulling at your heartstrings now, but I do think that they do a tremendous job for this community. If that place closes, if they decided, okay, we don't want to buy them, we'll just leave town, then what do we do? And what is the cost, the long-term cost of having to do this? That is a major issue. I think the school system would tell you there's no way in the world that they would be able to pick up, how many kids are in there?
90 slots.
90 slots. That would overwhelm the school system. I think Commissioner Lancaster would probably tell you that.
It would have to go out of state.
Right. So I do understand both of your concern. I'm in favor of this. I don't necessarily like the dollar either. But I think on the long run, it's beneficial to this community. So anybody else have any questions or comments? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Adams, Lancaster, and Stewart. Voting in opposition, Commissioners Keith and Booth.
All right, thank you. That takes us to nominations, Madam Clerk, Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. This is the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, and we have 2 vacancies.
And for recommendations for the Senior Citizen Advisory Commission, Ms. Brenda Harris and Cynthia Johnson. Does anybody have any other nominations? All righty. Madam Manager, that takes us to number 6, the appointments.
Yes, sir. We have appointments for vacancies for the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission.
And these were the appointments, so this is for the appointment. They were nominated last month. Pamela Collins, Donald Bennett, Nettie Hayes Miller, and Reva McNair. If I can get a second. Second. It's been moved in second for the appointment. All of those in favor?
Unanimous.
Is there a closed session item?
No, sir.
All righty. If not, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
I didn't vote against it. I'm having such a good time. I just want to be in the record one time and say, no, let's stay longer.